Like a beacon in the night, the Book of Proverbs stands as an enduring testament to the power and necessity of wisdom. Within its pages, we discover not mere rules to follow, but principles for living a life of purpose, meaning, and joy. Proverbs speaks to the very heart of what it means to be alive, to navigate the complexities of relationships, and to pursue a life worthy of our highest aspirations. As we embark on this exploration, let us do so with open hearts and minds, ready to receive the timeless truths that have guided generations before us. Proverbs chapter 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother, for they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, Come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. Proverbs 1:7 declares, The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. This verse sets the foundation for true understanding. The fear of the Lord isn't about being afraid, but rather living in awe and reverence toward God, recognizing His holiness and authority over our lives. Wisdom starts with honoring God as the ultimate source of truth. Verses 8-16 warn against the enticements of sinful living. Solomon, speaking to his son, advises against following the ways of those who seek quick gain through violence and deceit. These verses remind us of the seductive nature of sin. It promises much but delivers destruction. The call to walk not in the way with them is a command to resist temptation and align ourselves with God's righteous path. Today, reflect on the voices and influences in your life. Are they leading you toward wisdom or away from it? True wisdom is rooted in fearing God, and that fear protects us from the allure of evil. As we choose God's way, we walk in safety, guarding our hearts and minds from harm. Let the fear of the Lord guide your every step. Chapter 2. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom, and apply thine heart to understanding. Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understanding. If thou seekest her as silver, and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord giveth wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. In Proverbs 2:1-5, we are reminded that wisdom is not just handed to us. It must be earnestly sought, treasured, and pursued like hidden treasure. The passage speaks of the importance of receiving God's words, storing His commandments within our hearts, and inclining our ears to understanding. This pursuit is an intentional, ongoing journey that requires our whole being, our heart, mind, and soul. To truly grasp it, we must cry out for discernment and search for understanding with diligence. Just as miners dig deeply for precious gems, so must we dive into God's Word, trusting that every effort will lead us closer to His heart. When we seek God in this way, the promise is clear. We will understand the fear of the Lord and discover the knowledge of God. This wisdom is a reflection of His character and reveals the path to a life filled with purpose and meaning. As we seek, let us remember that true wisdom begins with reverence for God, acknowledging Him as the source of all truth and the one who holds the keys to abundant life. Chapter 3. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel, and marrow to thy bones. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of His correction. For whom the Lord loveth He correcteth, even as a father the son in whom He delighteth. Proverbs 3:5-12 calls us to surrender completely to God, trusting His wisdom above our own. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Fear 5 reminds us that human wisdom is limited, but God's ways are higher. When we acknowledge Him in all our paths, VP 6, He promises to make our journey straight. But this isn't always easy. Surrender requires faith, especially when life feels uncertain or challenging. Verse 7 encourages humility. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. True wisdom begins with reverence for God. By aligning our hearts with His will, we are filled with peace and healing. V. 8. These verses also emphasize discipline. For us, 11-12, revealing God's love through correction. Just as a loving parent disciplines a child, so does God shape us for His purposes. Let us trust God fully, surrendering our doubts, fears, and plans. His love guides and protects us, leading us into the abundant life He desires. When we embrace His wisdom, we find peace, direction, and strength. Trust His process, knowing He is working all things for your good. Chapter 4. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor when thou dost embrace her. She shall give to thine head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in right paths. Proverbs 4:5-11 speaks to the heart of what it means to seek and value wisdom above all else. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. VP 5. Solomon, in his fatherly wisdom, pleads with us to prioritize wisdom as the foundation of a fulfilled life. Wisdom is not just knowledge, but divine insight, an eternal treasure that shapes our actions, decisions, and paths. The pursuit of wisdom is not a casual journey. It requires diligence and a heart committed to truth. When we actively seek it, we are embracing God's direction and aligning our lives with His will. I instruct you in the way of wisdom and lead you along straight paths. Verse 11. These words remind us that God's guidance is a promise. When we walk in wisdom, He makes our paths clear and steadfast. Wisdom protects us from poor choices, helps us avoid unnecessary pain, and brings us peace. It's not just about knowing the right thing, it's about living it. As you seek wisdom today, trust that God is leading you to live a life of purpose, clarity, and divine favor. Chapter 5. My son, attend unto my wisdom, and bow thine ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that thy lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. Lest thou shouldest ponder the path of life, her ways are movable, that thou canst not know them. Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house. Proverbs 5:1-8 offers a stern but loving warning about the dangers of sexual immorality and the importance of guarding our hearts and minds. Solomon begins by urging his son to pay attention to wisdom and understanding, a call that still echoes through time for each of us today. The temptations we face, whether in relationships or other areas, often seem alluring, but can lead to destruction if we let them take root in our lives. Verses 3-4 paint a vivid picture of how enticing sin can be, but they also reveal its bitter consequences. What seems sweet in the moment turns sour, leading to pain and regret. That's why verse 8 offers a vital piece of wisdom. Stay far away from paths that lead to temptation. God calls us to live with integrity, remaining faithful to His ways even when the world pulls us in the opposite direction. This passage encourages us to be vigilant, to guard our hearts, and to seek the wisdom of God in all things. By staying close to Him, we gain the strength to resist temptation and live a life that honors His perfect plan. Chapter 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. Proverbs 6:5-11 warns us about the dangers of procrastination and laziness, encouraging us to escape the trap of complacency. Verse 5 urges us to free ourselves like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, reminding us that time is precious and action is needed to avoid ruin. The comparison to the ant in verses 6-8 illustrates the importance of diligence and preparation. The ant, without the need for oversight, tirelessly gathers food during the summer to prepare for the winter. This imagery teaches us that wisdom is found in planning and consistent effort. Just as the ant knows the season of work, so must we be alert to the opportunities God presents to us. Verses 9-11 serve as a sobering reminder. Laziness leads to poverty, both materially and spiritually. A little sleep, a little folding of the hands, and suddenly the consequences catch up to us like a thief. God calls us to be vigilant and proactive, trusting in His strength to guide our labor. May we break free from the chains of slothfulness, embracing diligence with faith that He will bless the work of our hands. Chapter 7. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day have I paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet thee, diligently to seek thy face, and I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the goodman is not at home, he is gone a long journey. He hath taken a bag of money with him, and will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech she caused him to yield, with the flattering of her lips she forced him. He goeth after her straightway, as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks. Proverbs 7:13-27 paints a vivid picture of the danger of temptation and the seductive pull of folly. The woman in these verses represents the voice of deception, alluring and persuasive, calling out to the naive and the unwary. She embodies the world's empty promises of pleasure and satisfaction, drawing her victims away from the path of righteousness and wisdom. In the same way, sin often disguises itself as something desirable, enticing us with short-term pleasures while leading us toward long-term destruction. We must recognize the traps of temptation and guard our hearts with discernment and wisdom. Just as the young man in the story was led astray, we too can fall prey to deception when we rely on our desires over God's truth. The lesson here is clear. Be vigilant, guard your heart with the Word of God, and fill your mind with His wisdom. Temptation may call, but with a heart rooted in Christ, we have the strength to resist its pull. Take refuge in the Lord's commands and resist the allure of folly. The road to destruction is broad, but the way of life is found in the wisdom of God. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. Chapter 8. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I wisdom dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding, I have strength. In Proverbs 8:7-14, wisdom speaks with clarity, revealing the purity of her words and the righteous path she leads us on. She declares that her mouth speaks truth, while wickedness is an abomination to her lips. This passage emphasizes the necessity of aligning ourselves with God's truth and rejecting falsehood, dishonesty, and deceit. True wisdom is not only about knowledge, but about moral discernment. It helps us understand what is right fair, and just in every circumstance. Verse 13 reminds us that the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, arrogance, and the perverse ways of sin. In our daily lives, we are constantly faced with choices that either align us with wisdom or lead us astray. Wisdom calls us to despise pride and wickedness and to embrace humility and righteousness. Let us ask God to fill our hearts with His wisdom. May we speak words that reflect His truth and love, standing firm against the evil that seeks to distort our character. Let us walk in the light of God's counsel, humbling ourselves to His divine understanding. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and with it comes protection, discernment, and life. Chapter 9. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself, but if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple, and knoweth nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house, on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their ways. Proverbs 9:10-15 teaches us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. This verse lays a foundation for living a life of purpose. True wisdom doesn't come from intellect alone or worldly experiences, but from reverence for God, acknowledging His sovereignty and seeking His guidance. This passage reminds us that wisdom calls out to us, offering life and peace. Yet, folly also beckons, often disguised as something desirable, but leading to destruction. The choice between wisdom and folly is presented daily, and it is our fear of the Lord that strengthens our discernment to make the right choices. Verses 13-15 describe folly as loud and seductive, sitting at the door, ready to ensnare those who lack understanding. It's a vivid reminder that the wrong path often looks inviting, but it leads to emptiness. Let us seek God's wisdom, for it provides direction, purpose, and peace that surpasses anything this world offers. Today, choose to walk in reverence, listening to wisdom's call, and trusting that God's way is the path to true life. Chapter 10. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but He casteth away the substance of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. Proverbs 10:1-7 contrasts the lives of the righteous and the wicked, emphasizing the power of choices in shaping one's legacy. In these verses, Solomon highlights how a wise child brings joy to their parents, while a foolish one brings sorrow. This speaks to the ripple effect our decisions have on those around us, especially family. God calls us to walk in wisdom, to live in a way that honors Him and blesses others. Verse 3 promises that the Lord will not let the righteous go hungry, a reminder that God provides for those who trust and follow Him. Righteousness is not just about avoiding evil, it's about actively pursuing what is right, knowing that our actions leave a lasting impact. In contrast, the wicked, who live for themselves, find their wealth and fame fading away. Verses 6-7 point to the eternal significance of living righteously. The memory of the righteous will be a blessing, while the name of the wicked will rot. As we walk in wisdom and seek righteousness, we are building a legacy that blesses future generations and glorifies God. Choose today to live wisely and leave behind a legacy of faith. Chapter 11. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. The integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them, but transgressors shall be taken in their own naughtiness. Proverbs 11:1-6 teaches us that integrity and righteousness hold far more value than worldly success. The passage opens with a stark contrast. Dishonest scales represent deceit, while just weights signify fairness. This imagery reminds us that our actions and choices reflect our character. In a world that often rewards dishonesty, we are called to stand firm in our principles. Verse 3 reveals that the integrity of the upright guides them, highlighting the importance of aligning our actions with our values. When we choose honesty and righteousness, we build a foundation that leads to peace and stability. Conversely, the crookedness of the treacherous brings destruction, serving as a warning against the temporary allure of unethical gains. Verses 4-6 reveal that wealth without righteousness ultimately leads to ruin, but the righteous are delivered from death. This profound truth emphasizes that our choices echo into eternity. As we pursue our goals and ambitions, let us prioritize righteousness over riches. In doing so, we will find true gain, not just for ourselves, but also as a light for others. May we strive to be vessels of integrity, reflecting God's love and truth in every aspect of our lives. Chapter 12. Whoso loveth instruction, loveth knowledge. But he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. Proverbs 12:1-6 emphasizes the significance of wisdom and integrity in our daily lives. The opening verse highlights that a wise person welcomes correction, recognizing that learning is a lifelong journey. This attitude of humility fosters growth and deepens our understanding. In a world where pride often reigns, choosing to be receptive to guidance can transform our hearts and minds. Verse 2 contrasts the fate of the righteous and the wicked, reminding us that integrity leads to favor and lasting security. As we strive to live righteously, we find refuge in God's promises, allowing His wisdom to illuminate our paths. The verses also depict the power of our words. They can either uplift or destroy, shaping our lives and the lives of others. By choosing our words carefully, we can speak life into our relationships, bringing healing and encouragement to those around us. As you reflect on this passage, ask yourself, are you open to correction? Are you using your words to build others up? Embrace the wisdom found in Proverbs 12, and let it guide your actions today, choosing integrity and encouragement in all that you do. Chapter 13. A wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. The soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing. But the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome, and cometh to shame. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overthroweth the sinner. There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. The ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke. The light of the righteous rejoiceth, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. Proverbs 13:1-12 illuminates the profound impact of wisdom and the choices we make. A wise child heeds correction, while a scoffer disregards the valuable lessons life offers. This passage reminds us that our responses to guidance shape our futures. Embracing wisdom is like planting seeds that yield a bountiful harvest of joy and fulfillment. Consider the verse, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life." Here, we learn that patience in our pursuits is crucial. Delays may lead to discouragement, but God's timing is perfect. He invites us to trust in Him as we navigate our dreams, knowing that what is promised will come to fruition when aligned with His purpose. As we reflect on these verses, let us evaluate our hearts and choices. Are we open to correction? Are we nurturing hope, even amidst challenges? By cultivating wisdom and patience, we align ourselves with God's will, paving the way for blessings and abundant life. Let us pray for discernment and strength to walk in wisdom, trusting that every step taken in faith leads us closer to our divine purpose. Chapter 14. Every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. He that walketh in his uprightness feareth the Lord, but he that is perverse in his ways despiseth him. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them. Where no oxen are, the crib is clean, but much increase is by the strength of the ox. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. A scorner seeketh wisdom, and findeth it not. But knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. Go from the presence of a foolish man, when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. Proverbs 14:1-9 reminds us of the profound impact our choices have on our lives and relationships. The wise woman builds her house, emphasizing the importance of nurturing our homes and communities with wisdom and love. This passage invites us to reflect on the actions we take each day. Are they rooted in understanding and compassion, or do they lead to destruction? The contrast between wisdom and folly is stark. Wisdom offers peace and stability, while foolishness leads to chaos. Each decision, whether big or small, shapes the environment we cultivate around us. As we seek wisdom, we are called to embrace humility, knowing that true understanding begins with reverence for God. Verse 9 speaks of the foolish mocking at sin, highlighting the importance of discernment. Let us not be swayed by the world's view, but strive to uphold righteousness. In our quest for wisdom, may we build a legacy of love, integrity, and faith that extends beyond ourselves, influencing our families and communities. Today, let's choose to be builders of wisdom, laying a strong foundation for a fulfilling life rooted in God's truth and love. Seek His guidance in all you do, and watch as He transforms your path. Chapter 15. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of the wicked is trouble. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is His delight. The way of the wicked is an abomination unto the Lord, but He loveth him that followeth after righteousness. Proverbs 15:1-9 reminds us of the profound impact our words can have on ourselves and those around us. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. This wisdom highlights the choice we have in how we respond to conflict. In a world filled with harshness, choosing kindness can transform relationships and diffuse tension. When faced with anger or provocation, remember that a soft answer reflects strength and self-control. It can foster peace and understanding, leading to deeper connections. Our words are not just sounds, they carry the weight of our intentions and emotions. Let us be mindful of our speech, knowing that it can either heal or hurt. Verses 7 and 9 further emphasize the importance of wisdom in our conversations. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, while the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Choose to be a vessel of truth and love, using your words to build up rather than tear down. As you go through your day, meditate on how you can apply this wisdom in your interactions. Let your responses be gentle and your words reflect the heart of God, guiding you toward righteousness and peace. Chapter 16. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirits. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. The Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. By mercy and truth iniquity is purged, and by the fear of the Lord men depart from evil. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. Proverbs 16:1-9 reminds us of the interplay between our intentions and God's sovereignty. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Proverbs 16:1 ESV. We often craft intricate plans for our lives, believing we have control over our futures. Yet, it is crucial to remember that our understanding is limited. In verse 3, we are encouraged to commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. This commitment is not merely about seeking God's approval for our agendas. It's about aligning our desires with His will. As we navigate our paths, we can trust that God's guidance will lead us to a purpose greater than we can imagine. Verse 9 beautifully states, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." Each step taken with faith in God's guidance ensures that we are walking in alignment with His divine plan. Let us seek His wisdom in our daily decisions and remain open to His leading. Pray today for clarity in your plans, asking God to direct your heart and guide your steps, knowing that His ways are higher than our own. Chapter 17. Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers. Excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less do lying lips a prince. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that hath it. Whithersoever it turneth, it prospereth. He that covereth a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. A reproof entereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. An evil man seeketh only rebellion, therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Proverbs 17:6-11 teaches us about the profound influence of love and wisdom across generations. Verse 6 reminds us that children's children are a crown to the aged, emphasizing the joy and legacy that family brings. Our relationships with our children and grandchildren reflect the love and wisdom we impart, creating a rich tapestry of familial bonds. In verse 7, we are reminded that wisdom is far more valuable than any earthly treasure. True wisdom shapes our character and guides our actions, allowing us to reflect God's love in all that we do. This wisdom is manifested in how we treat others. We are encouraged to speak words of encouragement and truth rather than engage in strife. Verses 10 and 11 highlight the importance of heeding correction and embracing wisdom. A wise heart welcomes instruction, while a foolish heart breeds conflict and rebellion. As we meditate on these verses, let us cultivate a spirit of humility and openness, ensuring that our legacy is rooted in love, wisdom, and reconciliation. May we strive to leave behind a heritage that honors God and strengthens the ties that bind our families together. Chapter 18. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Proverbs 18:4-8 reminds us of the profound impact our words can have. Verse 4 tells us that the words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. Our words hold immense power, like a wellspring of life that can nourish and uplift or drown and destroy. The wisdom we share can guide others toward truth and healing. Verses 5-7 warn us against the dangers of partiality and gossip. When we allow our tongues to spread falsehoods or make hasty judgments, we sow discord and strife. The fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for blows. It is crucial to reflect on our words and ensure they align with God's truth. In verse 8, the proverb speaks of gossip as, "The words of a talebearer are like tasty trifles, and they go down into the innermost body." We are reminded to guard our hearts and minds against the allure of gossip. Let us strive to speak life, choosing words that heal and uplift rather than tear down. May our speech be a fountain of wisdom, reflecting God's love and grace to those around us. Chapter 19. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. The foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that giveth gifts. Proverbs 19, 1-6 reminds us of the profound value of wisdom and integrity in our lives. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. This powerful verse challenges our perception of success, emphasizing that true wealth lies in our character and the choices we make. Walking in integrity requires courage and conviction, often leading us to places where material possessions are scarce. Yet, the peace that comes from a clear conscience is priceless. When we align our actions with our values, we cultivate a life that honors God and positively impacts those around us. Verses 5 and 6 reveal that our words have weight and consequence. A false witness will not go unpunished, and many seek the favor of a generous man. This highlights the importance of honesty and the relationships we build. When we embody truthfulness and generosity, we draw others to us, reflecting the heart of Christ. Today, let us choose integrity over riches, wisdom over folly, and honesty over deceit. In doing so, we will experience the abundant life God promises, not just for ourselves, but for those we encounter along the way. Chapter 20. Counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. A king that sitteth in the throne of judgment scattereth away all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have made my heart clean, I am pure from my sin? Divers weights and divers measures, both of them are alike abomination to the Lord. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. Proverbs 20:5-11 reminds us that the heart is the wellspring of our actions and intentions. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Proverbs 25, NIV. This passage teaches us the importance of discernment, both in ourselves and others. It encourages us to seek wisdom and understanding, recognizing that our motives may not always be visible on the surface. In a world that often rewards surface appearances, God calls us to a deeper truth. Are our actions rooted in integrity, or do they hide selfish desires? When we cultivate a heart aligned with God's will, we gain clarity and purpose in our decisions. We can navigate relationships with honesty and grace, ensuring our words and actions reflect His love. Verses 9-11 challenge us to examine our character. Who can say, I have kept my heart pure, I am clean and without sin? Proverbs 29, NIV. May we approach our lives with humility, seeking purification through prayer and reflection. Let us allow the Holy Spirit to reveal the depths of our hearts, leading us to live authentically and righteously in His sight. Chapter 21. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. A high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of every one that is hasty only to want. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. Proverbs 21:2-6 reminds us that while humans may devise their own plans, it is ultimately the Lord who weighs our hearts. In a world that often prioritizes appearance over authenticity, God calls us to reflect on the true motives behind our actions. Verse 2 emphasizes that we may think our ways are right, yet only God can see the heart's true intent. When we align our decisions with His wisdom, we unlock a path of righteousness that leads to life. This passage urges us to examine our ambitions, ensuring they are rooted in integrity rather than selfish gain. As we strive for success, let us remember that wealth acquired through deceit is fleeting and can lead to destruction. Instead, let us commit to honest endeavors, trusting that God rewards diligence and purity of heart. As we engage in our daily tasks, let our actions be guided by a desire to honor Him, ensuring our steps are in line with His will. Today, invite God into your decision-making process, allowing His wisdom to shape your heart and actions. In seeking His guidance, we will not only find success, but also experience the peace and fulfillment that comes from walking in His ways. Chapter 22. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself, but the simple pass on, and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches, and honor, and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22, 1-6 emphasizes the profound impact of our choices and character on future generations. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. Verse 1, reminding us that our reputation and integrity hold more value than material wealth. As we navigate life, we should strive to cultivate qualities that reflect God's love and righteousness, leaving a legacy that honors Him. Verse 2 states, "The rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all." This truth encourages us to see beyond social and economic status, fostering humility and compassion. Our actions should be grounded in kindness and respect, building bridges instead of walls. The guidance in verse 6, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it," highlights the responsibility we have in nurturing the next generation. Teaching them the values of faith, love, and discipline shapes their character and guides their paths. As we reflect on these verses, let us commit to living in a way that honors God and influences others positively. May we invest in relationships, nurture our character, and pass down wisdom, knowing that we are shaping a brighter future. Chapter 23. Apply thine heart unto instruction, and thine ears to the words of knowledge. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. My son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yea, my reins shall rejoice, when thy lips speak right things. Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long. For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way. Proverbs 23, 12-19 reminds us of the importance of focusing our hearts and minds on wisdom and discipline. Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. Proverbs 23:12. This call to action encourages us to pursue understanding earnestly, recognizing that true wisdom is a treasure that enriches our lives. As we navigate the complexities of life, we are often faced with distractions and temptations that lead us away from righteousness. The passage urges us to guard against wayward influences and to cherish the guidance that leads us closer to God. By embracing wisdom, we align our desires with divine purpose, transforming our lives from the inside out. In verses 15-19, we see the heart of a father speaking to his son, emphasizing the significance of a life anchored in integrity and moral clarity. When we choose to listen to wise counsel and act on it, we cultivate a character that reflects God's love and righteousness. Let us pray for discernment to prioritize wisdom over folly, trusting that each step we take in faith draws us closer to the abundant life God promises. May our hearts be receptive and our lives a testament to the power of His Word. Chapter 24. A wise man is strong, yea, a man of knowledge increaseth strength. For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in multitude of counselors there is safety. Wisdom is too high for a fool. He openeth not his mouth in the gate. He that deviseth to do evil shall be called a mischievous person. The thought of foolishness is sin, and the scorner is an abomination to men. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. If thou forbear to deliver them that are drawn unto death, and those that are ready to be slain, if thou sayest, Behold, we knew it not, doth not he that pondereth the heart consider it? And he that keepeth thy soul, doth not he know it? And shall not he render to every man according to his works? In Proverbs 24:5-12, we are reminded of the profound strength and value that wisdom brings to our lives. A wise man is full of strength, and a man of knowledge enhances his might. Proverbs 24:5 ESV. This passage emphasizes that true strength is not found in physical might, but in the wisdom that guides our actions and decisions. As we navigate life's challenges, let us seek wisdom in our choices. It is through understanding and insight that we gain the ability to discern right from wrong. The verses encourage us to act with compassion, especially when we see others in distress. If you say, Behold, we did not know this, does not he who weighs the heart perceive it? Proverbs 24:12 ESV. God sees our intentions and responses to those in need. Today, let's reflect on how we can cultivate wisdom in our lives. Pray for discernment to make wise choices and seek opportunities to help those around us. Remember, wisdom not only strengthens us, but also equips us to support and uplift others, reflecting God's love in a world that desperately needs it. Chapter 25. If thine enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink. For thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord shall reward thee. The north wind driveth away rain, so doth an angry countenance a backbiting tongue. It is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman and in a wide house. Proverbs 25:21-24 offers profound wisdom on the transformative power of kindness. When faced with adversaries or those who oppose us, our natural inclination might be to retaliate or harbor resentment. Yet, this scripture encourages us to respond with grace and compassion. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. This act of kindness not only quenches their physical needs, but also has the potential to soften their hearts. The wisdom in these verses teaches us that our actions can lead to unexpected outcomes. By showing kindness, we may heap coals of fire on his head, prompting reflection and change in those who oppose us. It reminds us that we are called to rise above our circumstances and reflect God's love, even in difficult situations. Moreover, the passage concludes with a reminder that being in a house with a contentious person can be challenging. It's often better to seek peace and solitude than to engage in strife. Let us strive to embody the kindness of Christ, creating a ripple effect of love and peace in our lives and the lives of others, even amidst adversity. Chapter 26. So is the man that deceiveth his neighbor, and saith, Am not I in sport? Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. As coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh ruin. In Proverbs 26:19-28, we are reminded of the profound impact our words can have on others and ourselves. Verse 19 warns against speaking deceitfully, likening it to a fool who plays with fire. The consequences of careless speech can lead to misunderstandings, strife, and deep wounds that linger long after the words are spoken. Verses 20-21 emphasize the necessity of wisdom in our conversations. Just as a fire needs fuel to grow, our words can ignite conflicts if not tempered with grace and truth. When we choose to speak kindly, we become peacemakers, diffusing tension and fostering understanding. In verses 22 to 28, the contrast between the wise and the foolish is laid bare. A fool revels in gossip and deceit, ultimately bringing destruction upon themselves. In contrast, the wise person understands the weight of their words and uses them to uplift and encourage. Let us commit today to be mindful of what we say. May our speech reflect love and integrity, avoiding the snares of gossip and deceit. Ask God for wisdom to guard your tongue and to speak life into every situation, promoting healing and reconciliation. Chapter 27. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Proverbs 27, 1-6 reminds us of the importance of valuing genuine relationships that foster growth. The wisdom in these verses highlights the need to approach each day with humility, recognizing that we do not know what tomorrow holds. This uncertainty invites us to cultivate a spirit of openness and gratitude for those in our lives who offer constructive criticism. Verse 2 encourages us to let others speak well of us rather than to boast about ourselves. In a world that often prioritizes self-promotion, we are reminded that true honor comes from the respect and recognition of our peers. The wounds inflicted by a friend can lead to healing, while the kisses of an enemy may mask hidden agendas. As we navigate our relationships, may we seek out friends who are willing to speak truth into our lives. Let us be courageous enough to welcome their insights, knowing that their words can shape us for the better. Today, consider reaching out to a trusted friend for honest feedback. In doing so, you honor both the friendship and the wisdom of God, allowing His guidance to flow through those He has placed in your life. Chapter 28. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness, than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Proverbs 28, 5-9 reminds us of the stark contrast between the righteous and the wicked, illuminating the path of wisdom amidst life's chaos. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it fully. In a world often clouded by confusion and moral ambiguity, seeking God's guidance is crucial. When we align ourselves with His wisdom, our discernment sharpens, enabling us to see through the deception that surrounds us. The passage also highlights the consequences of turning away from God's commandments. If anyone turns a deaf ear to the law, even his prayers are detestable. Our relationship with God is not just about words, it's about our heart's posture toward His will. As you meditate on these verses, consider where you might be tempted to compromise your values. Are there areas in your life where you need to realign with God's truth? Let His wisdom guide your actions, shaping a life that reflects His righteousness. Commit to seeking Him daily and trust that His understanding will lead you through even the darkest of circumstances, revealing the clarity and peace that come from a heart attuned to His voice. Chapter 29. The righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. Scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. Proverbs 29, 7-10 reminds us of the profound difference between the righteous and the wicked. The righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. This scripture invites us to reflect on our hearts and the compassion we extend to others, especially those in need. Our actions should echo the heart of God, who delights in justice and cares deeply for the marginalized. When we engage with the struggles of others, we align ourselves with God's purpose and reflect His character in our lives. How can we actively show compassion to those who are hurting? Whether it's through acts of kindness, volunteering, or simply listening, Each gesture carries the power to uplift and bring hope. The final verses warn us of the dangers of pride and anger. It is in humility that we find true strength and a heart attuned to God's desires. Let us strive to be instruments of peace, bringing light into the lives of those around us, embodying the love and justice that our Father exemplifies. Chapter 30. There is a generation that curseth their father, and doth not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. Proverbs 30:11-14 speaks of the lessons handed down through generations, truths often obscured by pride and bitterness. The verses highlight 4 distinct groups of people who embody a failure to honor wisdom and respect the bonds of family. Those who curse their parents, who are pure in their own eyes but not cleansed of their filth, who possess arrogance, and who exhibit cruelty towards the vulnerable. We are reminded to honor our roots and the wisdom imparted by those who have walked before us. It is a call to break the cycle of negativity that can pervade relationships and to embrace a heart of gratitude towards our parents and elders. Let us strive to embody love, humility, and wisdom, ensuring that we are not just recipients of knowledge, but also willing vessels of grace for the generations to come. In doing so, we not only honor our heritage, but also pave the way for a future grounded in love and understanding. Chapter 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:10-31 paints a vivid portrait of a virtuous woman whose worth is beyond measure. This passage challenges us to reflect on our own lives and the qualities we aspire to embody. The virtuous woman is not defined by her circumstances, but by her character, strong, capable, and wise. She manages her household with diligence and compassion, balancing work and family with grace. In a world that often undervalues the contributions of women, this scripture uplifts and empowers us. It reminds us that our worth is not tied to societal standards, but rooted in our ability to love, serve, and make wise choices. Each verse invites us to cultivate our skills, nurture our relationships, and be an unwavering source of support to those around us. As we meditate on these verses, let us strive to embody these virtues in our daily lives. Whether at home, work, or in our communities, we can reflect the love of Christ through our actions. May we find joy in serving others and strength in our roles, creating a legacy of faith that inspires generations to come. Embrace your unique calling and shine brightly as a woman of virtue in today's world.